Welcome to the Fintech Diversity Radar's Female Founders Series by Findexable. My name is Linda Saye, and I'm your host for today. In this series, we're talking to leaders in Fintech globally, around the world, about the issue of gender diversity and what it takes for a woman to thrive, to be successful in a very male-dominated world. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Debra Taylor, who is the founder and chief operating officer of OpenSparks, based in Sydney, Australia. I had the pleasure of meeting Debra in the Money 2020 Rise Up Academy, and she is a superstar in the industry and a women's champion in her own right. And I'm so pleased today to welcome Debra. And thank you for getting up so early to talk to me today.
Oh, Linda, it's great to be here with you. And thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really excited to be talking about anything to do with gender diversity is something I'm very passionate about.
Yes, I absolutely know that. So tell me a little bit about OpenSparks. What's the idea behind it? And what are the problems that it solves in the industry?
Okay, well, what we do, we're actually the bridge between two massive global silos of industry, loyalty and payments.
Yep.
So generally now what you need to do, you can join a loyalty program, you get a card or you get a coupon, and then you go and redeem that at the merchant or the retailer, and then you make the payment for your transaction. So that's very clunky. So you've got to do two transactions in one to actually get your reward. So what we do is we enable the payment method to become the method of identifying the loyalty. Okay. So yeah, so we have a few programs in market now. And so it's just a much easier way of taking friction out of the whole loyalty ecosystem.
Right. So it dramatically improves the whole customer experience and is a lot less frictionless.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, we make payments all the time with our phones, with our cards, with our watches. And so that's all you now need to actually enable you, the retailer, to identify you as the person to give the reward or the loyalty points to.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great idea. Really great.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to create OpenSparks? And kind of tell me a little bit about when that was, where were you, and how did that idea just come to you?
Well, I guess it's been a progression over the last 30 years of my career, really. And it actually goes back to even how I started out in business, because I grew up on a family farm. I was fourth generation on the farm. My father had 3 daughters, and usually, you know, you want sons on a farm because sons tend to traditionally carry on the farming way. So being a daughter of a farmer, I really had to get involved in the farm and get involved in what it meant to actually run a farm. There's so much involved. You've got to really look for the weather, signs of when you're going to plant your crops or when you're going to, harvest, things like that. So you've always got to be on the lookout for how the world is operating. Right. And so I've sort of taken that into my working life as well. So I'm always on the lookout for new things and ideas, and they just sort of gel in a way. So actually my first business was actually marketing and selling a management tool. So what it was a 2-book system. So one book had over 1,000 questions in about 14 different areas of how to run a business. And the other book had the answers. So what you would do is look for like the subject matter, look for the questions that you want answers to, and then you would identify where they were and how that would help you in that business module. Because many small business owners do not know how to do all parts of running a business. So you've got to have help and guidance. So that was my first business doing that. So I met some amazing business leaders and just learned just so much about that. So that was, about 30 odd years ago now.
Yeah.
And started to look out at other business opportunities too. So opportunities that were more leverageable. So that was a very sort of restricted business in a way, because it was very direct, like one-on-one. And I became involved with my business partner then, and we were remarketing banking equipment. So what would happen, this is a global industry, the banks, when they take out obsolete equipment, we would then buy that equipment, refurbish it and sell it into other markets. So into third world markets, into Africa. We also sold many machines into the US as well, because often when a bank has a set of equipment, they want to maintain that equipment. They don't want to get new equipment. So
Right.
there's a big market in that remarketing of banking equipment. So I got involved in that. So then that really took me into the whole fintech space, I guess, in a way. And
Wow.
that was when I really first came across, really that was fintech before fintech became fintech.
Yes.
And really, I want to say that nowadays there's about 7% of women who are founders in fintech companies. So 30 years ago, can you imagine what it was like? So
Absolutely.
I was the only woman in the room,
Yes.
and I had a male business partner. So it was quite funny. So, of course, the men that we would meet would all talk to my male business partner.
Of
And
course.
the area that I cover in my business, I would answer. So it'd be this little like triangle, like they'd ask him, I'd answer. They'd go,
Right.
okay. They'd ask him again, and I'd answer. So they really then got used to the fact that I'm there. This is what I deal with. So I always deal with like commercial, anything financial, legal, operational. So that became my sort of skill set of how to grow and build a business covering all of those areas. And then my business partner would be the one in charge of all the sales and the marketing and the customer relations, etc. So it worked really, really well. And
Yes.
between us, we have started about 12 companies together.
Wow.
And we've, over 30 years, we've sold 4. I've
Wow.
had 2 just horrible failures, and the other few just didn't work. And I've got my main ones now, OpenSparks. So that's going to be my the biggest one that I'm working on now. So yeah, so it's been quite a journey, and it's been
Yeah.
quite fascinating, to see how women are now gradually coming into this space. And I
Yeah.
think it's a really good space for women to be in, because we are natural multitaskers.
Yes.
Fintech, payments, this industry, there is so much to it, and you can specialize, or you can be more of a someone who can cover a lot of different areas. And I guess that's where I've come from.
Yeah.
I just cover a lot of different areas. So, and I guess
Yeah.
that goes back to my farming roots, Linda, because you have to do everything. You have to solve problems all the time, and
Right.
that's what I do. I solve problems.
Yeah. And I think,
Mm.
that's the key, to a really balanced company. You mentioned your partner, and he's got his own skill set and really great attributes, and you bring a whole different skill set. And together that really makes a really strong team.
Yeah.
So as you were starting your business, how did you bootstrap, or did you go pitch to VCs? Tell me a little bit about that experience, with gaining capital and getting the funds to start the business.
Well, fortunately, I've actually been able to bootstrap most of my businesses, and bootstrap doesn't mean we've had a lot of money to put into it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes there's been very, very little. So, I've worked from home, I've worked
Yeah.
out of my garage, and then gradually, as cash flow occurs, you can actually grow, employ more people, get a warehouse, get an office, things like that. So really, I have grown my businesses slowly over time. And now, though, the company I'm in now, OpenSparks, we are
Mhm.
raising funds for the business. We've had a couple of seed rounds now. We've got some great shareholders on board who really believe in the business.
Oh,
And
that's great.
so, it's critical when you're fundraising to have good shareholders. Yeah. So,
So
good shareholders now.
kudos to you. That's amazing. To be able to bootstrap more than one, over your time in your career is really phenomenal. So what kind of gender issues do you think played a role, as you were starting OpenSparks, or even your other businesses? Did you feel gender disparity. Did you feel any of that personally?
Yes, yes, there certainly has been a lot of bias.
Yes.
Um, I think it is improving. I think what you and Findexable are doing is just critical to actually show the stories of people like myself, but also to focus on what we can do to help make this better for all of us.
Yes.
And in that, I do a bit of speaking at different events, certainly International Women's Day just recently, and there's more and more women in the crowds, and some of these are specialist fintech events. Some of them are more broad.
Yes.
But it's just great to see that there's a lot more women who are now coming into being founders of companies.
Yes.
It's not easy, but it's incredibly rewarding.
Yes.
And one thing I loved is that, having my own company, I could really control my time, and I raised a daughter. And so I could go to every school event. I could take days off to go to her sports days or whatever it was. But it meant that I had such flexibility
Yes.
that, my work is part of my life.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the beauty of it. You're making the rules for you. You're able to make it all work, and most women do. We are very good at that, and that's just, I think, so special, to hear you say that you spend that kind of time with your daughter. And that's very lucky and very fortunate. But I wanted to point this out because I've been watching your, throughout the month of March, which is Women's History Month. I've really enjoyed your posts about women at OpenSparks. So good for you for doing that and highlighting them. I think that's awesome. How many women do you have at OpenSparks? And do you make that, is that a conscious decision to make sure that you have more women in the company? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we're a small company. We've only got about 12 people in our company right now, and
Yeah.
4 of them are women. So
Okay.
we're at about the 25% mark. So that's about standard in this industry.
Right.
I'm one of 3, I've got 3 co-founders, so I'm the only woman. So as a founder, we lead the way there because we've got 25% of women founding the company. So that's good. But I do really want to focus on bringing women to the company, and it's not about employing a woman specifically, but it's about making sure that we get the right fit.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so all of my co-founders and I, we are all focused on ensuring that we have good gender and cultural diversity, and we have that in our organisation now. So luckily, I'm really supported in what I do in my drive to actually make women shine within my company, but also what we can do to inspire other organisations to do the same.
Absolutely. And I think that's really what it is about, and I think that's what the FinTech Diversity Radar will do. It'll shine a light on best practices globally, and it will help teach each other, other fintechs. Well, this is what this one's doing, and this is really working for them. So it's going to be a great resource for best practices and learning and all of that. So it's really good. What obstacles do you have to overcome when starting your company?
Well, I guess there's a lot, and it goes like quite deep actually. So again, it goes, I guess, back to my farming roots. So I didn't have a university education. So I left school at year 10. And so I always felt like I was a bit of an imposter. And I actually hear this a lot from women, even men, but women who have university degrees. They're very successful.
Right.
They're very qualified, and yet they still feel like they're imposters. So for me, having no education at all, it was really quite challenging to sort of keep myself at a certain level. So I actually became an autodidact, which is I'm self-taught. So I just did whatever I could to get mentors, advisors who could really teach me about the areas I specialize in, which is like legal, finance, etc. So at one stage I had 3 different financial advisors, all who gave me different expertise. So I think that's something that's very common for all of us, whether we're educated or not. I've just had the curiosity and the desire to learn and understand how things work. And because I've been involved in business, I think all my life, I just love looking at things and how does that work? How can I make that better? What can I do there? And so, yeah, I'm always learning and growing and developing, and I'm really blessed to be able to have the opportunity to do that. And I think that's what's really enabled me to have so many businesses and be successful, because I'm always on the lookout for something that will improve what we do.
Yeah, you're right. So from my experience, I have heard a lot of women with imposter syndrome, and including myself. And the fact that you did have that intellectual curiosity and the drive to go out and learn more and not let that stop you is amazing. And I just want to, I want to give you kudos for that, because that's really awesome, Debra. So you overcame that imposter syndrome that holds so many women back, able to still, thrive and do well. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome. So what's next for OpenSparkz?
Well, we're at a really exciting phase of our business. We've just been through COVID. And during that time, we had a number of programs that we were due to launch that stopped. So we're delayed in our business growth from that perspective. But what's happened is that there are so many organizations who are approaching us now, and have done for the last 6 or 8 months, talking about, well, what can we do when we get out of COVID? So they all want to actually get loyalty programs up and running to incentivize their client base to come back and shop and spend more, and how they can do more targeted marketing, etc. So we've got a number of new programs due to launch. We've got one in the Caribbean, so I can't wait to do a site visit one day.
I'll go with you.
Yeah. We've got one launch in the UK. It's a restaurant program, so that'll take a little bit of time till that all settles down. We've got interest out of South Africa, Asia, of course, and we're also looking at launching some things in the US. So we've got a global footprint. So I can't wait to get back on the road at some point and start traveling the globe and getting involved with great programs like Findexable, and certainly like Money 2020 and the Rise Up program. It was a fantastic program to do there too, again focusing on women. So yeah.
Well, Debra, it has been a pleasure catching up with you today. And thank you to our audience for listening and watching this episode of the Fintech Diversity Radar's Female Founders Series. The Fintech Diversity Radar is building the world's first data set on diversity in fintech globally. And here's how you can help bridge the gender divide. If you are a fintech or a financial service provider, please take part in our survey on findexable.com. It's only as good as the data that goes in, and we need lots of data. So please consider taking the survey. Follow us on Findexable's social media platforms and be a part of the conversation. There are some great conversations going on about gender diversity in this industry. So please be a part of that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, if you need more information, do not hesitate to reach out at info@findexable.com. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.